And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your North Carolina Tar Heels. And it's been a pretty negative week for North Carolina, and it's only Tuesday. They're coming off of another embarrassing loss to UCF 34-9. It's the second time, of course, that the Tar Heels have lost this season. Yes, they are 2-2. They're 500, but your two losses were against Power 4 opponents, some of which are going to be very similar to the ones you're going to be playing in the ACC. And then on top of that, the two wins you had, they weren't really that impressive. You beat Charlotte 20-3. You didn't score a single touchdown in the second half against a very bad Charlotte team. And then the next week, you won 41-6, but you only gained 317 yards of 317 yards of offense. All year, the Tar Heels have not gained over 400 yards of offense. I mean, it's insane, like how bad that offense is. But the defense has been doing okay. Of course, they still have some areas they need to work on, but the defense has improved over time. I mean, the game against UCF, was miles better than the one they had against CCU, where they had like 20, 30 missed tackles. They gave up over 540 yards. So it was a much better performance for the Tar Heels defensively. They still need to work on stopping offenses on third down. They still need to do a lot of work. But it's miles better than the performance against TCU. But the defense can only do so much if the offense is absolute poo-poo. So it's just not really looking good for the Tar Heels. And Jeremiah Tacho, or associate beat writer here at Tar Heels on SI, he released an article about his predictions for the rest of the year, and safe to say he was pretty negative. Which is kind of funny because he was very positive at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, I would say this. I was very positive at the beginning of the year. I said they're going to go 8-4, so I'm not going to lie there. But after TCU, he still remained positive. And I saw that TCU game. I'm like, yo, man, that's not a good football team. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be one thing if they lost like 42-28, or if they lost like 35-21, it'd be different. But from start to finish, it looked very clear that North Carolina did not have the talent. They just didn't. And then over the course of the season, the offense never got better. And Jeremiah actually picked Carolina to win against UCF. I didn't see enough offensively from the Tar Heels. And he did. And I told him, it's like, dude, if they don't score 28 points, they're losing. And they lost 34-9. They haven't scored more than – the only time they scored more than 20 points was against Richmond, who, by the way, is an FCS team. This is not a very good team. It's just not. I'm trying to spin it as positive as possible. That's why I mentioned the defense improving. But it's hard to put this team in a positive light when most of the stuff really hasn't been that great. Right? I'm not going to BS you, right? I'm going to tell you what I think they do well and what they don't do well. And one of the things they do well is defense, which doesn't surprise me or really surprise anyone, considering Bill Belichick's history of being a defensive play caller. And his son also is this is a defensive-minded staff. I mean, it really is. The head coach is the defensive guy. The defensive coordinator is the son of the head coach. Bill's other son, Brian, is also the DB's coach, or the safeties coach. I mean, this is a defensive-minded staff. And so it doesn't shock me that the offense is struggling because of the defensive-minded staff. And a lot of the weaknesses of the team are actually on the offensive side of the ball. That's something that I have discussed on the podcast and also written about before. But I didn't expect the offense to be this putrid. I mean, they are not very fun to watch, or I don't think anybody should watch them at all at the moment. But it looks to me like they're going to, move to a different quarterback. I think they're going to go with Max Johnson. But if they do go with Max Johnson, like, well, how will the team look? Especially considering the fact that the rest of the year, for the rest of the year, the schedule looks tough. And I know that's not really saying a lot because the ACC really isn't the strongest. It's not like the SEC or the Big Ten, right? Or even the Pac-12. The last 2 years it was in existence. I mean, this is kind of a dog-eat-dog conference, which makes it kind of entertaining. I actually do like the entertainment of a dog-eat-dog conference, but I mean, it's not like it's not a behemoth conference, but it's a very entertaining conference. And you start already kind of seeing that with Clemson. I think everyone at ACC is really enjoying Clemson's downfall. Kind of going over the UNC schedule. Let's kind of go over the games and let's see like where UNC falls in this picture, because I think the rest of this is going to be a tough sledding for UNC. I said if they lost against UCF, it's going to be an uphill battle to become bowl eligible. If you win against UCF, you're 3-1. All you need to do is win 3 more games, and voila, you're in a bowl game, right? And that road to the bowl game starts with Clemson. Clemson, of course, is 1-3. Really, they should be 1-4 because remember they were down 16-3 at the half against Troy in the second week of the season, and then they scored 24 unanswered points. But Clemson is not a very good team this year, and which is kind of crazy to think about, because unlike UNC, where you don't really have that much talent on the team, Clemson has loads of talent, right? Like Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi would kill to have any of the Clemson's players. I mean, they have some really talented players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and it's just insane to me how bad they are. They're 1-3 right now. I mean, they lost against LSU the first game of the year. That's understandable. It's LSU, right? And that's a very good team. Like LSU is a legit national title contender, right? Then, of course, you have the Troy game, which you probably should have lost. I mean, you just 24 answered points in the second half. And Kate Klubnik, really has been struggling, right? And then you saw that in the Georgia Tech game. You saw that in the Syracuse game. He did not look like the best quarterback on the field. It was Haynes King of Georgia Tech, and it was Steve Angeli of Syracuse. So it's just not, they're not a very good team right now. And it's shocking. I even picked them to win the ACC. There's an article up there. I have the ultimate guy of the ACC. I literally picked Clemson to win the ACC and for Kate Klubnik to be the quarterback of the year. And I also had an article about the possibility of College Game Day coming to Chapel Hill for the Clemson game if UNC was undefeated. You already know ESPN wants ratings. What a better way to get a ratings firestorm when you have Dabo Swinney, who, is entertaining himself, and then Bill Belichick. And now North Carolina looks like they could be one of the worst teams they see at the moment. It's too early to tell, but from what we've seen on the field, they look horrible. And then Clemson, who is trying to avoid going on a downward slope. This one. So even though it's not this kind of the same hype around this game, it's still like a very interesting storyline in this game, because you have two teams that are really trying to avoid going on a downward spiral, and Clemson especially. This is not a very good North Carolina team, and even with Clemson's downside, I still have Clemson winning, just because I think that Clemson's talent's better. And also, I think this is a really bad time to play Clemson. Whenever they have these kind of if you look back in the past few years, whenever they kind of had this, slope, a downward slope, they always tend to play better. And what a better way to have a get right game against a team like North Carolina, who historically has allowed mediocre quarterbacks to have these Heisman-like games. And also, if you look at the all-time series record, North Carolina has only beaten Clemson twice in the 21st century. Twice. It came in 2001 when they won 38-3, and then they won again in 2010 when they won 21-16. It's only happened twice. Like, this is a lopsided series. It really is. And North Carolina has lost 6 straight. 6 straight to Clemson. They have the overall series record is 19-40. Like, Clemson's owned the Tar Heels. Clemson's always been that team that has given the Tar Heels fits. If you look back in 1981, which, by the way, was Clemson's first national title team, the ACC championship came down to North Carolina and Clemson. North Carolina was coming into the Clemson game as the number 8 team in the country, and basically the winner of the game won the ACC, and they probably would go to, they would go to the Gator Bowl. Not the Gator Bowl, like a Big Time Bowl game, the Orange Bowl, or something like that. And they ended up losing 8-10. And of course, Clemson ended up winning the national championship that year. That game cost North Carolina just to go to a Big Time Bowl game. But not only that, maybe even the national title. But I don't know, because the thing is, they had one loss, and that one loss was against South Carolina before the Clemson game. So, but still, think about the possibilities, right? So I think I'm not even going off saying Clemson's going to win because of history. I'm just saying Clemson's going to win because of talent. I just think this is this is like their perfect get right game for Clemson. It really is. It's North Carolina. If you know the history of North Carolina and going up against mediocre quarterbacks and allowing them to have Heisman-like games, this is the game for it. The next game is Clemson. Cal. It's October 17th. It will be played on a Friday. This is a very interesting game. And this is actually a game where I said that this will be a trap game at the beginning of the year. Now, I didn't expect Cal to be as good as they are right now. Yes, they're 3-1. And shockingly, they got shut out by San Diego State, which shocked me. But San Diego State's as someone who is very familiar with the California schools, and my dad, ironically, used to coach at Cal, so it'll also be bittersweet. And I actually plan on traveling to that game. I'll let everybody know if I will when it's confirmed, but I do plan on going to the Cal game. I got a lot of family out there, a lot of friends out there. I went to high school out there, so I plan on going out there. I do. But as someone who's familiar with the California football landscape, San Diego State's always given the California schools fits. They've given Stanford fits. They've given UCLA fits. They have given Cal fits. They've given I'm not sure how many times they played USC, but they've given people fits, especially the old Pac-12 schools. They've beaten Arizona State. This is a solid. San Diego State's a solid mid-major program. Very, very solid mid-major program. So it's kind of shocking that they beat Cal, but also knowing that program pretty well, it's not that shocking because San Diego State's a very good mid-major program. But Cal, the interesting thing about this game, I think this would be the biggest difference maker, is North Carolina will have to travel 3,000 miles to play a football game, to play a conference game. Not on the Atlantic coast, but on the Pacific coast. And the time zones are drastically different. When North Carolina plays Cal, it will kick off at 7 o'clock Pacific time or 7:30 Pacific time. You know what time will kick off on the East Coast? in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 10:30 p.m. The college kids are already hitting the bars by now. They're hitting the bars. They're in bars probably halfway through the night at one of the bars in North Carolina, right? Like, it's a very, 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 very late game. So I want to know how the kids, the Tar Heels, these college kids, are going to react to a 3-hour difference. Because they're 3 hours ahead of Cal. So they're not used to the big time change. So will they be tired? How will they adjust to it? Like, I mean, there's some regimens that Bill Belichick will have for the Heels, because it's a very hectic travel. And the way Cal's been playing and the way they've been moving the ball up the field, like, their offense is much better than UNC's, and I think UNC could do enough to keep them in the game. But can the offense move that ball down the field? We'll see. Because, like I said, they have it looks like Mac Johnson will be the starter at the moment, because Gio Lopez, we're not sure what his injury status is. So it's going to be very interesting. But I think that's a game UNC could lose. I do think they're going to lose. I just think that I'm really concerned about the offense, still. And I think Max will make them better, of course. I still think Max can make them better. But the issue is that nobody can get a read on this team. Because we know they can run the ball effectively. We've seen it with Damon June, despite the bad play of the offensive line. But we also know that their quarterback play hasn't really been efficient for the most part. And the wide receivers don't really have any big-time players at the wide receiver, outside maybe Jordan Shipp, right? But Jordan Shipp is not somebody that will burn people. He's more of a possession receiver, which is kind of what you need for North Carolina, because they just need to move the chains in general. So anyway, but next game, you got Virginia. All right, right now North Carolina's in at 2-4. That's what I have them. This game, of course, will be, I believe it will be the 130th game of the South's oldest rivalry. They have played 129 times. So yes, this will be the 130th meeting between these two historic schools. I mean, these are two of the oldest schools in the country. I mean, they have a lot of history with the country's founding. Virginia, of course, the university was founded in 1819. UNC, on the other hand, they were founded in 1789. So these two schools have been a part of our nation's history for a very long time. And they also play they're also one of the oldest rivalries in America. I mean, this is a historic rivalry. And Virginia right now is looking like they're a very good team. They're 3-1. Their only loss was against NC State, which, by the way, was a game they should have won. So, I mean, really, it could be 4-0 if you really think about it. And Virginia, interesting thing about Virginia is that they have won three of the last 4 meetings in Chapel Hill. They've had a lot of success. Now, I'll say this. A lot of that success was under Brock Mendenhall, who did a great job with that Virginia team. By the way, you did a very, very good job with it. I mean, matter of fact, Virginia made the ACC championship in 2019. So he did a great job with that program. But now they've been taken over by Tony Elliott, who, of course, was the offensive coordinator at Clemson. And Virginia right now, they're 3-1, and their offense is one of the best in the country. They're led by Chandler Morris, who has thrown for over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception so far through 4 games. He's a very good player. He's elevated this Virginia team. He's a big reason why Virginia's 3-1. I mean, he is the team. And now the defense is bad, right? The defense isn't great. But the problem is when your offense is struggling to get any momentum, you know, so it's basically like a version of, okay, bad offense for UNC, decent defense for UNC. Oh yeah, but a great offense in Virginia and a really bad defense in Virginia. So it's not a great game for UNC matchup wise. I would take Virginia just because I think their offense is a little bit better. And right now, from looking at this UNC team, they are not great on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I trust. Offensive side of the ball, I don't know what they're going to look like. I mean, so next week against Clemson, we'll really see what this UNC offense looks like with Max Johnson. Syracuse. Now, I'll say this. I think this is a game UNC can win, right? Phil Angeli's out for the year, right? Phil Angeli was a starting quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, top 5 in passing yards, you name it. And he was a big reason why they beat Clemson the other day. But he's out for the year with Achilles, and now the quarterback is going to be Ricky Collins. And I'm very familiar with Ricky Collins. Of course, I covered LSU, and I covered a lot of high school football in Louisiana. I've said that before in the podcast. So I'm very familiar with Ricky Collins and the kind of hoopla that came with it, because he is from Baton Rouge. He went to Woodlawn High School in Baton Rouge. I remember his recruitment to LSU. He was also part of the same class as Arch Manning, and for a lot of you ACC fans, may know who this name is, but Eli Holstein. Eli Holstein was the number 2 quarterback in the country, a 4-star guy. Originally committed to Alabama, of course, then transferred to Pitt, where he's had a decent career. Ricky Collins is number 3 quarterback right behind him. And he was an elite 11 quarterback, you name it. But the problem was, he sat behind. He was the 3rd quarterback after Jaden and Garrett Nussmeier. And then Garrett Nussmeier was the starting quarterback. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go take my chance and go play somewhere where I could play. Unfortunately, he lost the starting job to Stephen Jelly. So it'll be very interesting to see how Ricky Collins plays throughout the year. Right now, I have this as a win because there's some things about Ricky Collins' game that I do not like, and I think Max Johnson is a better quarterback than Ricky Collins. And I think the offense will do enough. I think the offense will do enough to win the game. I think the defense will do a good job to win the game. So I have this as a win, ironically. So I think they can win that. Although I do say that's going to be a tough game because the JMA Wireless Dome. I like to call it the Carrier Dome. Can I call it the Carrier Dome, guys? I'll call it the Carrier Dome. Screw it. So the Carrier Dome is one of the toughest places to play in the college football, and it's known as the Loud House for a reason. So, but I think I have that as a win. I think Stanford is a winnable game. I had this down as a win. Stanford is not, there's some days where they look great, and some days they look bad. I think this is a winnable game for UNC. I have this as a win. Wake Forest, very interesting. North Carolina and Wake Forest is not really, I would say not really. What I mean is it's just not a favorable matchup for UNC. Although I do think UNC has a better chance of winning this game than, let's just say, Clemson and Virginia, and Clemson and Virginia. I think it's more along the lines of Syracuse, where it's kind of more of a toss-up more than anything else. And Wake Forest, if you look at the past for football, I mean, Wake Forest is kind of, this game's always been close. The last 5 meetings have been determined by 7 points or less. Last year was 31-24. The year before that was 36-34. The year before that was 58-55. The year before that, in 2020, it was 59-53. Wake Forest won 24-18 in 2019. That was the first of the last 5 meetings that were determined by 7 points or less. Now, in 2015, by the way, there's a 4-year gap between 2015 and 2019 because they weren't in the same division. But North Carolina won 50-14. But the year before that, Wake Forest won 28-27. So this has been in 6 of the last 7 meetings, this game will be close, and I think it will be again. But I think if I had to pick, I think Wake Forest wins this game. just because it's on the road. It's that you're playing in Winston-Salem. I think this is just one of those recipes for disaster for UNC because you're just entering into the perfect storm. It's a rivalry game. You're playing at Wake Forest. You know, they have a really good running back in Damon Claiborne. Robbie Ashford, although he's not the greatest thrower of the football, he is very athletic and he can run. So it'll be very interesting to see how North Carolina handles that. They didn't really handle David Jackson all that well. And David Jackson, I wouldn't even say he's like a running quarterback. He's a quarterback that can run, but he's not a running quarterback. Robbie Ashford is, in fact, a running quarterback. So it'll be very interesting to see how UNC combats this. Against Duke, I have that as a loss. I do. I think Duke has the offensive firepower needed. I think the defense, although the defense has been kind of iffy throughout for the course of the year, I think they do a good job of forcing turnovers. And on top of that, I think Duke, they're led by one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Darian Mensah. Darian Mensah is third in the country in terms of passing yards. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards. He's 11 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. I mean, he's balling right now for Duke. And I just think on senior day, I think this is a win for Duke. I just don't know what UNC is going to look like by then. I can only go off of what's going on right now. So that's what I'm going off of, is what's going on right now. And then NC State, I think NC State's a much better team than UNC, although we've seen some crazier things happen in this rivalry. I think this is a game NC State wins. They got way too much firepower offensively. CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers. Dave Dorton, the NC State's won the last 5 meetings between the Tar Heels and the Wolfpack. I mean, Dave Doran's got UNC's number. He just really does. So I just don't see this is a game that UNC wins just because of the firepower. I think if you look at Duke and you look at NC State, I think they have way more talent than UNC. They got a few guys who are talented, like Thaddeus Sixton's a great cornerback. I think he's getting slipped on around the country. I think the 2 linebackers that North Carolina has, Kamari House and Andrew Simpson, are 2 fantastic linebackers. They make plays all over the field. They're tough, smart, dependable, like the coaches want them to. So those 3 players are really, really good, but UNC doesn't really have the offensive outside of Damon June and Jordan Shipp. They don't really have anybody where like, oh wow, that guy's a really, really good football player, right? You don't really have that on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I think they got way more talent on the defensive side of the ball than the offense on the offensive side of the ball, but it's just not. I just don't think there's enough with Duke and NC State combined. Duke's got some players like Duke. I mean, Darian Mensah is a really good quarterback. Nate Shepard's one of the better running backs, and he's a freshman, by the way. And I'm very familiar with Nate Shepard because, of course, ironically, he is from the New Orleans area, which is where I'm from, and I covered a lot of high school football and recruiting and LSU football and stuff like that. So he's a really good back. Really, they got a good stable of backs too. I forgot the guy's name, but he ran the final touchdown against NC State Duke the other night that really broke the camel's back. So it's just, I think, and also NC State, I just think they have way more talent than North Carolina. That's just how it is. I mean, North Carolina did not do a great job of evaluating his talent. You've seen that with Gio Lopez. They paid Gio Lopez $2 million. He's going to be the starting quarterback at UNC, but he doesn't fit the system that they want. And on top of that, it's very clear that he has no command of the offense. He has no, I don't think he has really any confidence, which may play a factor too, but he just doesn't seem like he belongs out there. Like Gio Lopez may be a great group of 5 quarterback, but not a good power 4 quarterback. I mean, that's just how it's looking right now for UNC. And it's just, and if you do the final tally, loss 2-3, that's a loss 2-4, loss 2-5. I think 3-5, 4-5, 4-6, 4-7, 4-8. So I think they're going to go 4-8. I think this is a 4-5 win team at the moment right now, unless Max Johnson can show that he's the guy quarterback. I'm not saying he isn't the guy quarterback. He's got a lot of experience, but I don't think there's a big drop off between Max Johnson and Gio Lopez. Just a matter of fact that Max Johnson fits the offense better. He may have a better control of the offense than Gio Lopez does. And the person who ran that long touchdown run was Anderson Castle. I thought that's what his name was, but I wanted to make sure Anderson Castle was the one that ran that long touchdown run to seal the game against NC State. Running back for Duke. But Duke is they got a good stable of running backs. Darian Mintz is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They got a really good receiving core, and the defense is good enough to win some games. Yeah, they may allow some points, but they do a great job of turning the ball over, forcing turnovers, which is something that Manny Diaz has specialized in throughout, because Manny Diaz is a great defensive play caller. But wherever he's been, they've been known to have a knack for forcing turnovers. So 4-8, 5-7, it is for North Carolina the rest of the season. With that being said, my name is Grant Chachere. Sorry for the long podcast today. I try to make it as short as possible. I think I want to give as much analysis as possible. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.